Are the Forge Pass sets still good? Is the Platinum Pass worth it? I kind of want to talk about it. Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video, and today I wanted to kind of do a big breakdown of the Forge Pass. For the most part, a lot of us kind of know how this works, but the reality is there are always new players playing the game, and a lot of the time, even as an old player, I find out new stuff that I didn't know about something that I previously even made a video on. And people are like, oh, did you know about this? And I'm like, no, I didn't, right? So every now and then I like to make these types of videos to try and help out new players, give them kind of advice, and kind of just give everybody a general overview of what you're looking at. So very quickly, we'll just get the basics out of the way. Top row, that's free rewards. Second row requires a purchase of a Forge Pass. That's $20. The Platinum Pass is $50, and that would get you both. I think if you get the Platinum Pass, I think you get the Gold Pass too as part of that. I hope so, or else that's just an insane amount of money. And we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so if you're in the main, the original, the default pass, right? This is kind of the free-to-play pass. You do your daily challenges. You have enough room in there to miss a couple of daily challenges. I'm not going to sit there and run the numbers or anything, calculate exactly how many days and weeks and blah blah blah, right? Not only is that not entertaining, but I also don't want to embarrass myself doing math. So listen up, I just got a new promo link that you can use to follow along with me on my latest free-to-play adventure and get a free Elenaril as well as 3 more powerful epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril right after signing up, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's crush this together. But daily challenges, you get 4 daily challenges. Each of them is worth 5 points. So 20 points a day and 50 stages, and each level is 10 points, I believe. So yeah, feel free to do the math on that, but you can definitely do it free to play, which is something I love. I'm really glad that they keep this free to play because this gear is really free to play friendly. And early on on this account and other free to play accounts, this gear has been very, very essential to progression. Now for these weekly challenges, obviously the ones that you complete, you need to have the pass in order to get these extra points. And so there you have 12 Forge Pass points in the ones that you complete as part of the weekly. Something very important to note about the weekly that goes missed is that you get 200 Magisteel. The reason I bring that up is if we go to my Forge, you can see I currently have 1067 Magisteel. That goes very, very quickly. And so you can see even with all that, I still only have enough to make 219 pieces of perception. And I think, yeah, this is an even better example. If you look at my resilience gear, I have maxed out cap on this, maxed out cap on this. The limiting factor for me is Magisteel, right? I wouldn't craft resilience on this account anymore, but the point that I'm trying to make, as you can see, I am limited to 215 despite having all of these resources here, and the reason is the Magisteel. Magisteel is pretty necessary, and you can get it from Arena, but it's also really, really easy to collect a casual 800 Magisteel from the weekly challenges if you decide to get that pass. And I like to point that out because there have been times I've covered this up the entire video, so I'm a dummy. Magisteel right here, guys. This is the stuff, right? So I've actually gotten Forge passes in the past simply to get Magisteel because I was so far behind on it, and I was like, well, I'll get a Forge. I mean, obviously there's gear in there, obviously there are other rewards in there, so it wasn't only to get Magisteel, but that was a big selling point for me. All right, so those are kind of the basics. That's how you get points, right? If you look at the numbers here, you're talking 12 for each of these, you can add up points very, very, very quickly in the weekly challenges. Something else I want to talk about for the paid tiers that are pretty interesting is that you get this 10% XP boost. And I think it's really important to note that because I have been under Forge Passes in the past and had a training tournament come up, and I'm just like, man, that one went so fast. And it's because I was getting 40 extra XP because there are 4 of them in the gold and platinum passes, right? So I collected them just so freaking fast, or I was able to level so freaking fast because I had that extra XP percent, which is pretty cool. So unfortunately, you do not get that in the free tier, so you do have to pay in order to reap those benefits. Another way that the Forge Pass may be a little bit misleading is that, you know, you have this gear, it says level 50 reward, right? You got to notice it says gold there though. So this, even though it's a mythical gear and it'd be very exciting to get, it's only part of that gold pass. And we're going to break down the sets here in just a second. For the new platinum pass, I don't think this is worth it at all. I would not get it, not unless this was to offer some form of mythicals. It doesn't need to be 100 mythical fragments or anything. If it was 50 mythical fragments, even then I would probably give it some consideration, right? Because if you think 2 Forge Passes and you have a chance at a mythical relic, that's pretty cool. But just getting more chances at legendary relics and such just isn't really what I'm looking for. It's also worth noting, you know, the Forge Pass ones are pretty like, you know, they all have their pros and cons. I just don't know. I'm certainly not spending $50 to get anything from in here. I'm not going to break these down each and every one, but there are some that are really awesome and you know, some that aren't. It's what happens, but it's just not worth it for me to invest just to get legendaries out of those, right? I need better chance to get those mythical relics because those are the ones that are really going to impact and change your account, with the exception of the ones that are like super strong, meaning like a Wand of Submission or the one we can't get anymore, at least for now, which is the Cat's Gaze, right? And there are other ones in there, I'm sure, but those are the ones that really stick out as being super powerful. And I wish I had more of them. Well, let's talk about the sets. Let's talk about why I do not have the Forge Pass for this set. So let's just do a breakdown of the sets. What do we got? So for the Forge Pass sets, at least the ones that are currently available, we have the Instinct set. So the Instinct set is very interesting, right? Because what the Instinct set does, I'm trying to get pop up. So it's a 4-piece set with a 12% speed bonus, and you ignore 20% of enemy defense. Now, Savage and Lethal gear allows you to ignore 25% of enemy defense. So you're essentially trading off 12% of speed for losing 5% of ignored defense. I am not the biggest fan of this set because at the end of the day, it's just weaker Savage. Generally speaking, your damage dealing champions are going to get their turn meters boosted by their supports to be able to get their damage in, or you'll use crowd control as a way to take their turns away and give you your turns. So I don't really value the speed part of this set that much. And the trade-off of 5% ignore defense sounds low, but it's pretty significant. And so I don't really go for this set that often. Doesn't mean it's a bad set. That's not what I'm saying. If you are free to play, I would recommend doing that base top row every time. I don't bother to do that anymore on this account. I just collect, whatever I get. I'm not actively trying to complete it, but it is valuable to complete for a free-to-play because you do get yourself a chance to get some good gear. Even if you don't form the Instinct set, you could still get some good stat sticks, as I like to call them, just a really good piece of gear that you can put on your champions and improve your stats. Okay, let's move on to Bolster. So Bolster is interesting. With Bolster, you get a protected 30% HP shield for your allies that lasts 3 turns. And then the Bolster set itself heals the champion wearing it by 10% every turn. So this is a good set. It combines a better shield set by making it a protected shield set, and blends it with a little bit of a regen set. It's a good set in the kind of early mid game. It carried me through the harder stages of Demon Lord way back when. I had a big old bolster set on a high HP champion and essentially let that set absorb a little bit of damage early. But the reality of it is that because that shield can not be extended, this set doesn't get used a lot in today's current meta of extending shields. They default to a regular shield set. I would prefer to see bolster get more play than, the default shield set. I would like to see bolster kind of have a resurgence there. The other thing too, when you're dealing with arena, there are a lot of champions now that do more damage to champions that are under shields, right? So it'll actually make your team worse if you're going in there with a big shield. Now, these are champions that are likely not going to be seen very much in the early game, and if they are seen in the early game, they're not there for very long because that person will rank up very quickly. So in the early game, I think a bolster set is a powerhouse of a set, especially with, how efficient it is to get. You just kind of play the game, right? And then you get handed a couple pieces, you craft them, so you're not wasting energy, you're not spending energy, you're not spending gems, you're just playing the game and completing a couple of quests every day to get a really good shield set plus that healing passive. So I really like bolster. That being said, for this account, you can see I have 3 pieces there. I do not need bolster on this account anymore, right? I would, if I want a big shield, I want a shield set because I can extend that buff. If I want to regenerate my HP, I want a regen set because it heals more than a bolster set, right? So I like the set in the early game, maybe even the mid game, but when you get into the late game, this set falls off a cliff and essentially just takes up space in your inventory because you won't be trying to find ways to get it in there, right? At the end of the day, if I have a support somebody that I would bring a big bolster shield on, I would rather have them in protection. I would rather have all of their buffs be protected. I would rather have them be super fast than just being able to heal a little bit and get a shield at the beginning of the fight that would probably end up being destroyed in one hit anyways. So that's just my thoughts. It doesn't mean that I'm right. Just a reminder, guys, it doesn't mean that I'm right. That's just how I feel. One of the other Forge Pass sets is going to be Defiant. Defiant's a pretty good set. I don't use it nearly as much anymore, but it is a 2-piece set, which gives you plus 10% defense, reduces damage taken from enemy AoE attacks by 15%. That is pretty significant. If you're able to get a Defiance set on a champion, that's awesome. But it also, at the same time, what's better than reducing damage by 15%? How about Stone Skin, right? That's better. So it's granted, it costs more pieces to get the benefits of it, but you're also gaining more in stats. So this 2-piece set is giving 10% stats, but if we look at Stone Skin, you've got HP, you've got resistance, you've got more defense, right? So, and quite frankly, I get far more Stone Skin gear, usable Stone Skin gear from Hydra than I do from the Forge Passes. Granted, I don't pay for them very often, if ever, but, generally speaking, I get more gear just because I get to open 2 chests from each difficulty every week, and, I'm doing them at a high level. So, yeah, I don't think Defiant is a bad set at all. It's just one that is very strong early game. Very strong early game, but it just falls off later because you're really looking to get Stone Skin combined with Lethal or Savage, trying to get protection on your supports or Stone Skin on your supports. So it can really vary a lot of, whether or not it's good. And generally speaking, like I said, I am not a super big fan. So that's not one that I'm probably gonna going to chase after and try and run, and I'm certainly not going to spend money to get this set. For the last set, and we saved the best for last, it is the Slayer set. Slayer set is amazing. So one piece gives you 5% crit rate. That is so valuable in so many different ways. If I can find one of my nukers that's taking advantage of it, here you go, right here, right? So I've got exactly 100% crit rate, and 5% of it is coming from this one piece of gear right here above my head, right over here. That's giving me that 5%, which is very, very valuable. Then we have 15% crit damage on 2 pieces. So that's actually pretty easy to do, especially, you know, you throw one piece like this one in there, and then you could probably find another random one somewhere out there to get that 2 piece, or even that 3 piece if you want to get a little bit more speed at 5%. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this speed here because it's only 5%. I would like to see that be a little bit higher. Maybe that makes the gear too strong, but for me, I would like to see it be a little bit stronger because you're still pretty slow if you're using Slayer and you don't have really good rolls on it by default. For the 4-piece, fills this champion's turn meter by 5% per the first hit on each enemy from AoE attacks. Pretty good. We get another 10% crit rate at 5 pieces, which is awesome. And then at 6 pieces, we ignore 30% of enemies' defense when using AoE skills. More crit damage, more speed, and lastly, you have a 30% chance to deal additional AoE damage based on damage dealt by AoE skills. Wonderful set. I love the Slayer set. I go for the Forge Pass every time the Slayer is in there, but for the rest of them, I'm not really going to go for them. And then I don't know if I did answer this question. I think this just isn't worth it. That bottom row just is not worth it. So I don't know if it's coming across on camera, but I can barely keep my eyes open right now. So I am going to wrap up this video, go get some much needed sleep, and enjoy my weekend. I hope you all have a good weekend as well. I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Take care.